What is the average rate of pay for someone that like starts in a position like yours to, where you are today? Or if you could talk a little bit about what rates our listeners can expect in that kind of trajectory for that career.
Let me just go on the Editors Guild website because
Sure.
I don't know what the starting pays are.
And just to give you a little background, like Meredith and I were pretty passionate about this question because it's something that I feel like creatives have a hard time talking about pay, but specifically women, any females that I've worked with, it's always a very different conversation. That's something that I've noticed as a producer. So we want our listeners to be really prepared with talking about their rate, talking about expectations, and like how to kind of navigate starting and growing.
I totally agree. I love it. I love your transparency, actually. So if you start out as an assistant, the weekly rate, the scale is $2,000 a week. You're paid weekly, not hourly, but they do calculate your rate hourly, which is roughly $50 per hour. And then for a sound editor, it's $31.22 per week. And then that's the scale. So on some films you can get above scale, but you shouldn't be getting below that. And then as a sound supervisor, I'm getting 36 per week on this job.
What's the best way for them to think about an opportunity and see it as an opportunity, or to say, this doesn't seem right because it seems like somebody is kind of just exploiting me?
Right. So I will say, like, we talked a little bit about internships. Like, if you're an intern, you shouldn't really be doing nobody should be asking you to do the work. It's really, you should be sitting there and looking and watching, and the person you're sitting behind should be explaining. And, if you want to have a try, great. Anything that you're doing as practice is practice. Nobody should be asking you to do their work. Then there's an apprentice, which, given the budgets today, we don't really have that many apprentices on a job. But if you do have an apprentice, they usually get paid like roughly $1,100 a week, and they support the assistants. And actually, that's another thing. See, that would be a great job to bring back, because they're learning on the job. And yes, some stuff is expected of them, and they are given tasks to complete, but you're also getting paid. And that's how it should be. So that's a great way. I did apprentice here a bunch before becoming an assistant, and it was a great learning experience, because because you want to be with the assistant learning, because the assistants are doing everything, and it's the only way to learn.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I think just having a sense of like what those first couple steps are, for sure.
I mean, you have to just be persistent, keep checking in with people. I can't say that enough.
People are busy, they see an email, and generally people are like, oh, sure. And then 50 things happen, and the email just goes down the list, and then it's out of sight, out of mind. And you're like, oh, and the answer is always follow up. And give people an out, like say, I'm just following up. If you're too busy, I totally get it. Let me know and I won't bug you anymore. And generally people are like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot to answer you. Yes, of course, I will help you, So be courageous and ask for help, because people are always happy to help.
Yeah. So. And honestly, like, if you have the time, like, even if it's like one day a week, just ask, can I just come in and sit with you for a few hours? I mean, like, some people might be in school, you might have some time, in the morning. FaceTime is everything. That's what I think. I think, you know, once somebody meets you and they have your face in their mind and you forge a relationship, you get talking, that's so important.